I messed the table up. I messed it up big time, and I am so angry. Basically, came in the workshop this morning, full of ambition. I was ready to go, raving like, yes, let's get this bar top table done. I am so happy with this project so far. Let's get it on with. But I decided to mess it up. See, I thought the table base was perfectly square. I spent my time making sure each joint that I put together was nice and square. Somehow, the whole thing isn't square though. Each individual bit that I've glued together seems to be square, but when I measure the actual L that goes like that, it's out of square. No idea how it happened, but we live, we learn, we cry ourselves to sleep, and we get up the next day and have another go at it. But unfortunately, today is not the next day. I am not having another go at the table. I am going to be doing the cladding. We'll do the table later on in the video, but right now I'm stressed. So I've got some more pallets. I'll strip down some more pallets and get cladding this. And later on in the video, we'll have a crack at the table. Right, now that I've chilled out a little bit, my little paddy's over, let me explain this a little bit better. Well, the table base wasn't square, so obviously when I came to cut the miter joint, it wasn't a perfect 45-degree angle I had to cut. And I don't really have much measuring equipment to measure the right angle, so I was just sort of winging it and hoping I could find the right angle. Eventually, after doing so many cuts, I ran out of length, so I just went ahead and scrapped the bin and decided to start over again, probably for the best. But anyway, while I'm stripping apart all these pallets, would you believe this took me a whole day to strip down all of these pallets, get everything all milled up, sanded, and cut into the right shape? It was an absolute nightmare. As you can tell, this video is very fast paced at the minute, just because it was that much repeated work, and this happened. At first, I thought the brushes just needed changing, so I went and ordered some new brushes, installed them, and I just kept blowing fuses. I took it all apart and checked the actual motor, and turns out there's a massive chip taken out of the actual connection part where it all connects. So that's out of commission for now, sadly. Alright, so here's how the bar's looking so far. Sorry I can't get any proper shots. I am currently using up a lot of my workshop space with this bar here, so I only really have this to stand in. But the cladding all looks nice. That's all going to get painted black, and we're going to be putting some oak strips going across it and stuff to hide all the nail holes. But now we're going to be working on the bar top, and this is what I've decided I'm going to do for the bar. But as you can see, I want a little bit of overhang, and it's not overhanging very much. And we have these little notches cut out on the side of it. So what I need to do is get these bits of oak. We're going to attach them on the end, and we're also going to do some breadboard ends as well to make it a little bit longer on either side. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get cracked on with that now. It might look a bit mismatch, but with what I have in my head, I think it should look good. Just a little bit iffy on how to do it all. But we'll get there in the end, so stay tuned. Right, so the plan I came up with was I'm just going to get some spare bits of oak. I'm going to cut some 50mm strips out of it to make a sort of border going round the bar. So I have seen on bars before, they do have like a bit of wood that's overhanging a little bit. And at first I was going to try find a piece that closely matched the grain, but I thought it's probably better if it stands out. It ended up matching the grain pretty well, so that was a mess up on my half. But I kind of wanted it to be separated from the piece so you could sort of see that it was a separate piece. Could you see that on bars? But yeah, I'm just going around and squaring everything up, ready to glue up. You'll notice I cut 2 smaller strips out as well. That's just to hide the little notches that are out of this. But like I said in the last video, they're from the cabinet that this wood was actually harvested from. I found a listing on Facebook Marketplace for 40 quid for an oak cabinet, and I thought, oh, I could use a lot of that wood. So that's where all those notches came from. Those are all the notches that came in for the shelves and stuff. So to hide them, we're just doing a bit of a veneer on one half and an overhanging bit on the edge. I'm not even sure if you'd even class it as a veneer if it's on the side. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and call it a veneer. But because the surface plane is out of commission, we're going around with a trusty hand plane. Well, it's not even a hand plane. It's a bespoke shave or something like that. But we're using that just to take the edges down. And then I'm just cutting everything up, making sure everything fits up nice and seamlessly. I'm going to go ahead and cut the breadboard ends, but as you can see here, I was about to make a stupid cut, give my head a wobble, marked off where I needed it to be, flipped it over, and did the cut properly and safely. I was using the edge of the table saw as my reference of how long these pieces needed to be. So that's why I was attempting to make a stupid cut like that. And I didn't actually notice this as well, but turns out I didn't take a screw out of this bit of wood here, and you can hear it in the cut where it hits the screw. Now I didn't notice it in person. It wasn't until the very last cut where I was like, "Oh, what was that?" And then I saw the screw, and I was like, "God!" But my blade just absolutely chewed through it. It was perfectly fine, so I'm happy with that. And if you see here, we're making a comeback with these plugs. As we saw from a previous video that I did, adding dowels actually does strengthen a joint in some cases. So I'm going to go ahead and put dowels in the end of these breadboard ends, because it is end grain going to side grain, so it's not the strongest joint. So putting these dowels in where it's going to have a bit more surface area is going to be a good call. So cut all of them out with the plug cutter that I have, and I'm going to go ahead, use this little plastic cheap tool. I used it just so I could more easily find the center and hopefully drill a more straighter hole. It seemed to work, but there's probably better jigs and ways of doing it out there. And I didn't show it on here, but I did actually clamp all this up. I didn't just tap it all in and leave it like that, as we saw from the other video that I'm talking about, the one where we did all the glue experiments. Just pushing things together without any clamps doesn't create a very good glue joint. Neither does absolutely wrenching it down in the clamps. It squeezes all the glue out, and that's not a very good glue joint. So we're just going to go ahead and pinch these up in the clamps, and you'll see in a second here a little mistake. Yeah, usually when you're doing such a long glue up like this, you want to put clamps going on in alternate directions, so it's pulling from both directions. And you see here, put the clamps on the top. I came back in, I put a little straight piece on the actual joint to prevent it from bending as I lifted it up to put a clamp underneath. That way it's pulling from both the top and the bottom, so it's not just going to pop out of the clamps like that. So do this in future. And to attach the tabletop to the base, I went out and I bought these little brackets here. I decided not to do anything fancy, since you're never going to see these, and we will be lining the inside of this with a little something in the future. I'm not going to say anything right now because this is only part 2, and this is probably going to be in part 3 or 4 where we do the inside. But yeah, I'm just going ahead. I'm using 10 of these to make sure we have as much surface area clamped down as possible. What I also did, because my surface planer has been out of commission, instead of making the shelves out of pallet wood, I decided to make it out of plywood. So I ran to B&Q, picked up a bit of plywood for 30 quid. Made a dodgy cut here. Please, please, please never do a cut like this on your table saw where you haven't got it up against a fence or a miter sled. Just doing it freehand. It's a really, really good way to get kickback and have it, fly into your face. So don't recommend doing the cut like that, but I'm stupid, so I can do it. Right now, I'm just measuring out where all the struts are going, so I can cut these out so we can put the shelving in. And I was very stupid and naive to think I could keep it all in one piece and one L and slide it in. Couldn't do it like that, so I ended up having to cut it into 2 pieces and do it separately and go around with a bunch of filler later on. But live and we learn. Now that we have all those notches cut out, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to tack all these down with some nails. I can't really think of a better way to attach all of these, so my plan was I'm just going to go ahead, nail everything down. I'll go back around and sink all the nails and then come back in with filler, and then we'll get the cleanest look possible. I was just going to go ahead and glue these down, but I feel like that just gluing them down wouldn't stand the test of time, and the mechanical connection would be better. Ah! So it turns out going to a nail salon isn't the only way to get a purple thumbnail. But anyway, we moved along. We tried very carefully not to hit our fingers. Did it a few more times, but you have to hit your finger at least once or twice when hammering nails in. But we went round, we tacked all of these in, and we came back with a punch that went to go and sink all the nails to get it all ready for the filler, so we can come back in, fill it all up. But before we do the filler, we need to get the router out to get it all nice and flush with the frame around it. I cut these a little bit oversized so I can come back with the router to make sure everything's sitting flush with the outside. So when I put the trim on later on, it all sits nicely up against there. And then I got this fancy filler. It's like an epoxy sort of thing, so I could come back and sand it the same day. Filled in that crack and all the little nail holes, and yeah, sanded it all down, ready for painting. Right, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. As you can see, we've came a long way, but we have a long way to go. We need to paint the front of this. We need to put all the oak straps and stuff on it. Oak bands on it, because we need like skirting on the bottom. We're going to do a little strip along the top to match the top. But yeah, we have the shelves put in, we have the cladding on, we have the table glued up and ready to go. We just need to sand this down. One little thing I am a little bit worried about with sanding is that it seems like with these big boards, because these are just one big board, these aren't loads of glued up little boards. I glued up a little bit on the side and the ends, but the majority of these boards is just one piece of wood. It looks like it's warped a little bit, because when I first got it, I stripped all the varnish off with the surface planer, and I checked, it was all perfectly flat, but it looks like, especially this one seems to be okay, but this one looks like it's got a bit of a warp to it, so hopefully that will sand out. It only dips off about 1 or 2 millimeters either end, so I think my angle grinder attachment with some 40 grit sandpaper will make easy work of it, just to rip down the middle of it, get it all nice and flat. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in next video. Next video, we're going to be sanding this down, finishing off this tabletop, painting the front of it black, hopefully getting those oak skirting and little bands across all done. And then in the final video, I've got some accessories and some nice little things that I haven't never done on a project before. So look forward to that. But yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be a 4-part series. This would be part 2. So tell me if you like this project down below, or tell me if you want me to hurry up with it and get cracked on with something else. But I'm really excited about this project. I've learned a lot with this project. It's my biggest project. It's taken up a lot of room in the shed. I thought my desk build was quite big, but this is heavy and awkward to carry. At least with my desk, I could grab it and move it and stuff quite easily. It was just heavy and big. This is heavy and big and awkward. So yeah, but anyway, thanks for watching the video. Let me know if you made it all the way through the video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Stick around, like, subscribe, and yeah, see you later, guys.